everybody for hanging around. There is a lot of pressure to live up to that last panel. Wow. Wow. Makes me very proud to be a woman. Sure, there are definitely, what was the word they called? What did you call them? Disruptors. I was going to say destroyers, but disruptors. Destroyers of the ceiling. That is for sure. But yeah, we have a wonderful panel ahead of us. I think, how do we redefine masculinity? And I think that is what we are entrapped with as society and as business and in all various other aspects. How do we break through this masculinity structure that keeps us all caged and into specific areas of where we can and where we can't move. I remember I was in Standard 7 and my typing teacher, of all things, we used to still type on those typewriter, right? And in Standard 7, I think I got 4% because she covered the letters and I couldn't see what they were. And she said to me, you know what, you should just leave school, which I think you could at Standard 7, and just like become a housewife. Right? I wish I remembered her name because I'd like to go and show her my PhD now because we need to get inspiration from what people tell us we can't do. Yes. And not to prove them wrong, but to prove ourselves right. And I'm very much a believer of we need to shift the mindset of how we approach things. And I think the structure of this wonderful city that we live in right outside the door here, is very much a challenge for most of us. So how do we redefine masculinity? How do we make it gender fair and not that women have to succeed in a man's world? Like we've just seen Superwoman push through those barriers. How do we do that? So in order to have that conversation, I'd like to introduce my panel. We have Coach Oscar, wonderful man. I met him last week online, but nice to see him in the flesh. If I can just get you to introduce yourself, what do you do? How did you end up on this seat right now?
Adele, thank you so much. That was drag up because I really wanted to be here. In a nutshell, my name is Oscar. I'm into business consulting. I do coaching and mentorship. Before now, I have my background in banking, and I also did work with some retail e-commerce companies in and outside of South Africa. How did I get in here? How did I even get into South Africa? That's the first thing. From my bank, I came here on vacation. Actually, I wrote a book. That was my second book. And a friend of mine invited and asked me, why don't you come? We have a conference, come speak. And then I flew into the city. I love the city. And then after the conference, getting ready to go back, you were hearing promises. People were promising they will help you, they will set you up. And then I'm like, between the job back home and this, what do? I said, okay, let's just pursue this new one. That was how it all started. And how did I find myself here? 6 months down the line, all of those promises never materialized, and the job was no longer there waiting for me because I quitted while I was here. I had to work my way from the ground up again. At some point, I was going to library, and can I tell you, when I first started, I went to library, assemble grade 11, 12. I didn't really understand the grading at that time, but I can see it's between 10, 11, 12. I was teaching, I was a little good in maths, accounting, and all of that. And apparently, most of the people that comes were always girls. And it got me worried. Where are the boys? Why are the boys not among the number of kids that comes around? And for me, that took the interest to want to really deep down. But besides that, again, I'm a father of 3. My eldest is 12 years old, and I've watched them. I want them to be independent young ladies when they grow up. So I'm more careful. I'm careful. I learn every day. I want to see to be a better father, a better role model, shaping them for the future they want to live in. So, in a nutshell, this is how and why I find myself here. But more than I feel that is also very critical here is in the mind. Every day while driving them to school, I am reminding them that you will always win first when you tell yourself, I win. And they know that language with daddy, I win up here and then I can win in school. So I feel if we could amplify this message out there, probably much failures, much disappointment, some things can be dropped if you just believe that you need to give yourself a benefit of the doubt. Let me drop it here for now.
Wow, thank you so much. Right, next up we have Mr. Nick Nzama, who this voice to men that he founded is incredible. And I think I'd love to hear a lot more about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nick Nzama. I'm from Durban and born and bred in KZN, place called Gwanyuso, raised by a single mom. Then got married when I was in matric. Then got a bit of mentorship from my stepdad. Was an incredible man, but who then was not in our lives for a very long time. Passed on in 2002 in a car accident. And so my mom now runs a widows forum in Gwanyuso, looking after about 200 widows and single women headed households. I then in 2011 started a program called Boys to Men, and my simple challenge was that I looked at how I had been brought up, how my own father left me when I was in my mom's belly and never looked back. And how at the age of 27 I had literally become the one person I hated the most, which was my dad, my biological father, because at the age of 27 I had 7 kids from 5 different mothers, and I realized that I was heading for disaster. I then turned my life around, met a great man by the name of Patrick Kutsia, who mentored me, taught me how to use my naturally God-given talent, which was speaking, instead of using it to charm girls and women. Yes. Taught me how to make money out of it, and how to inspire the nation. I then learned about public speaking, I learned about strategic planning, I learned about organizational culture building. I've been involved in organizational culture building for organizations like Shell, Mr. Price, Pick and Pay, and various government entities, using my naturally God-given talent. So the Boys to Men program was then birthed out of realizing the mistakes that I'd made as a young man, and realized that there's a lot of boys, young boys, who still make the same mistakes. I realized how much as a society, and even I as a father, would look after my girls so much that girls are limited in terms of where they go, who they go with, and yet boys have got free reign. And I realized that the amount of mentorship and the amount of grooming we put into grooming the girl child, but that girl child, uzoshada nobani, if the man is not groomed properly. At the time there was take a girl child to work, and there was cell seed this and this girl child this, and hence the result of that, the seeds that we planted then, today we've got so many, what we call in KZN amapara emkakweni. We've got so many boys in the street, we've got so many boys in prison. GPV is skyrocketing no matter what we do, because GPV programs speak to women. In there's Women's Month in August, we're speaking to women about GPV as though women abuse themselves. The message is still directed to women as though they abuse themselves. So I then realized that we're still not addressing men at the right level. The message is still directed to the wrong person. So I then started the Boys to Men in 2011, when we were still not fashionable. And I can tell you, till today, you go knocking at doors and say, I run a program to groom young boys. My program is still self-funded till today. Up until this year, actually at the end of last year, the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, they asked me to package a program for them, camp programs which we run programs now around the country. We now facilitate, as Boys to Men facilitate their Hologane program, which means it's enough. So we run camps around the country for the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture nationally. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
It's a lot of nuts to shell. Right, that's a good candidate. Nice shirt you've got on there.
Thank you. Right, so first correction.
Yes.
My surname is not Kekana. The name is Zibuse El Kunene. Kekana is the late Meshek Kekana, the founder of That's the Picture. He founded the organization in 2012 and formally registered it in 2013. And then thereafter I joined as a member. Then over the years I got to chair the organization, which was quite a huge responsibility. So I am a husband to Hlengiwe, one wife. I am a father to two children, a girl and a boy, Uowe2 and Zibusiso. The funny thing about them is that they are 10 years apart from two different mothers, and they are also 3 days apart, which was quite amazing for me. I am an author of 2 published books, Morning Thoughts and Morning Thought Reflections. Those are daily devotionals that I even still continue now, every morning, send those messages without fail. Another thing that I do, I'm also a coach, but a transformational coach. I am very passionate about men. I'm very passionate about children. And just seeing someone develop and grow. At the same time, I'm also very controversial. I tend to say things that are controversial. And that's all because of the mentoring and coaching that I've received over the years. And you asked him how he got here. And if I can take that question, I kind of like got the brief yesterday. And the person that I'm sitting on this chair on behalf is none other than Ubabu Buyane, sorry. And when you are talking, I understand why Ubabu Buyane was here, was supposed to be here, because he's equally as great as you are, as well as you are. I love the risks that you took. Not many people take those risks. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Right, so could we reproduce you guys? And, you could really, you have very inspirational stories. They are well thought, well written, well documented, but also on a very practical level. You are all inspirational in how you see men and how you want to raise men, boys to become men and shaping their lives. How do you approach your day? Like, what is it that you focus on? What is your passion? What is your aim? At the end of the day, you go, I did a good job.
That's a tough one, eh? But how I look at this is from the angle of, firstly, it comes from the heart. And if we genuinely want a change, it starts from here. That's how it goes beyond just mouth. So how does my day go with? I told you I drop my girls at school. And every time while we're driving, I inspire them with words. And I don't even know if at first I didn't take notice. It's only when they start throwing back those things back to me. Dad, you said that, oh, now at this point you now have an accountability partners. For me, we are rewiring a system that I feel is broken, a culture that we as men inherit that is no longer serving us. Why do we feel threatened when women stand up for themselves? My wife is very good and I love her for that. But I've seen where she believes in, I hate injustice, I'll stand for my rights. Again, when I now get to see how GBV is becoming like It's a big thing here. I encourage, that's why I said I encourage my girls. Stand up for what you believe, stand up to what you know is right. And first of all, like my father taught me when I was still very young back then in school. I didn't grow up with my father, I grew up with an elder brother who raised me. It's not just about him, he was a police officer, but I'm a product. Now I look back and say, I'm a product of community. As a police officer, kids get transferred to different states, different cities. So I attended over 6 primary, secondary, like it was just like that. Every transfer I move, every transfer I move. Until when I get to what my place is SS2, which is equal to grade, just 2 years to grade 12. That's grade 10. And again, another transfer. I'm like, bro, he says, can you stay? I said, yes. So he called some men within where we were living at that point in time and told them, listen, I've been transferred to a new province, but my younger brother wants to stay to finish his grade 12. And please keep an eye on him. I'll be coming once a month. Fathers look after me, man. They spank me, discipline me the way they discipline their own kids. So it's one of the reasons I'm passionate about how we grow people. What is like my regular day like? I'm looking at how I can make impact in someone's life, how I could shift someone's thinking, because again, from coaching, it's always in the mind. If you are not able to shift the thinking from here, forget about resource, money. Those capital cannot take you to the next level if the mind is not, first of all, fixed. So I work on my mind. I seek an opportunity to be a positive influence in the life of anyone or any person I come in contact with. I want to work hard when I meet people with something to remember. That's how I plan and I live my day. And again, I've also got to see that even in coaching, clients that I've had, companies that have been able to work with their team, women open the doors for me. And some of them are people I even work with, signed up for my program and felt come into our system. So it's all about the mind, number one. Number two, just believing that you can change one person, not everyone, at least influence one person's thought in a day. That's how I go about my regular day.
My days are filled with a lot of work. I mean, I believe that I live to inspire. I live to make a difference. The Boys to Men program takes up a lot of my time because I interface with about 10,000 boys a year through my program, either through school visits, one-day seminars, or camps. That's how the program is divided. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. Last week, I drove from Durban to Guyana to go and visit a school and speak to 60 boys. Just because one boy who had been at one of the camps that we facilitated for Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, then took my number. Then he kept on bugging me, saying, "When are you coming to visit our school? I've got boys in our village in rural Guyana." So I drove 14 hours. Drove there and back to Durban, and had to, But that's my day. And the main reason for that is that I honestly, one of the things I believe in is that there are so many societal stereotypes and societal norms that are actually wrong about women and women empowerment, or even the role of men in society and role of women. There's this whole thing that patriarchy is deep rooted in the African culture, which is not true.
It's not.
In our culture, and especially in isiZulu, there is something that is said which means that once men have had a problem, so in the olden days, men would sit around and have a problem and discuss the problem, and once they see they can't find a solution, they would say, "My daughter, I guess let's leave it here. We'll discuss it tomorrow." That leaving it here and we'll discuss it tomorrow. They knew that they're going home to consult, and who were they going to consult? The wives. So this whole thing about power and what have you, even the whole thing of the matriarch, it's an African thing.
Yes.
It's an African thing. So this whole thing of women in the African culture are not are regarded as nothing and not a view. It's un-African.
Yes.
This whole thing of women not being respected in society is not an African thing. The African, it's actually something that was brought in with colonization to try and damage the mind of black people. And it came to destroy our families and our communities. And it has worked.
Amen.
Because once you destroy the family structure, and if you want to destroy the family structure, you destroy the mother. The family is gone. You know, so even taking the fathers away to go and work outside.
Yes.
So this whole thing of absent fathers was created by taking fathers away to go and work outside of their homesteads and going to work in the mines. And that is how the whole thing of absent fathers came about. It's not African.
Yes.
So the whole thing about Boys to Men revolves around getting boys to understand that their role in society, you've got a bigger role as a man, in such a way that our slogan as Boys to Men is, I'm a man, I'm ready to lead, love, and protect. That is our slogan as Boys to Men, and that is what I try and get these boys to understand and live by, in such a way that now at a point where the Boys to Men program is no longer led by me. It's now led by one of the boys who've come through the program, who's doing his first year at Cape Town University of Technology. He is now the leader of the program. So I now oversee it. The program is now in all provinces around the country and led by the boys. So in each community, the boys formulate the program and they start WhatsApp groups, and then I consult, and they invite me to come. Hence, I was at Guyana the other week. So, but the main thing is that we as men have got a responsibility to undo the wrongs of the past. Just as we always say, white people have got a responsibility to undo the wrongs of apartheid and what have you. All these narratives that now exist in our societies, no one else is going to correct them if we don't. We've got a very big responsibility, and we can't leave it to the next person. We all have to make sure that we work hand in hand to make sure that these things are corrected, and make sure that we start planting the right seeds.
In everything that I'm going to say, please take what Coach has said, take what he has said, and then build upon that. But on how my day starts, I just want to share a morning thought that I wrote. It's titled "When God Rewrites the Story," based on Romans 8:28. Sometimes life takes turns you never saw coming. People you trusted walk away. Dreams collapse and doors you prayed for remain closed, while the doors that you walked through get shut on your face. It feels like the story of your life has ended mid-chapter. But that is only because God has taken the pen. When God rewrites your story, He does not edit out the pain. He redeems it. The betrayal becomes wisdom. The delay becomes protection. The heartbreak becomes purification. The very things you thought disqualified you become the material of your transformation. Joseph's brothers sold him, yet God turned that seeming evil into a nation's survival. Naomi buried her husband and 2 sons, but gained Ruth, whose faith positioned her in the lineage of Christ. Paul persecuted the church, yet God used his passion to spread the gospel. When God rewrites, nothing is wasted.
Yeah.
You may not understand the plot while you are in the middle of it, but one day you will see how every detour led to destiny. Stop trying to edit the pages. Let the author finish his work. He is, after all, the author and the finisher of your faith.
Amen.
So these are daily messages that I send out. And now to get on to topic, if I ask each and every one of the ladies who are here, what do you expect from a man, or what is a man? I can bet you that each and every one of you will give me a different answer. I've experienced it. I was in a relationship with a lady who believed that a man has to be forceful, he has to be aggressive, you have to fight. That when somebody just invades your territory, you fight. Your testosterone must rise and you fight. And then I was in another relationship where this lady then says, you don't have to fight. You need to calm down, walk away, certain things. So imagine a man who is raised around women, who gets exposed to women in his life of different thought. What does he think being a man is? What does he think of masculinity? We are saying let's redefine masculinity, but what are we redefining? Because there's already a base of confusion. There's already a base of brokenness. When we look at what apartheid did to the psyche of the black man by taking him away from the home, it destroyed him. It destroyed his mind. And in psychology, you will know that the trauma that you experience gets written into your epigenetics. And that you pass on to your children. The cycle of violence that we are seeing in South Africa is because we saw it in the apartheid days. When you would have a person being torched, take a tire, put it around the person and just burn it, and everybody looks at that and thinks it's okay. People who experienced that trauma, people who celebrated that violence, it was okay, it was acceptable. It was acceptable to destroy property because, hey, it was property that belonged to the Afrikaners, to the racist regime. Guess where we are now? In the democratic dispensation, it is our property now. But hey, that mindset has been written into our psychology. And that's where we find ourselves. So when you say let's redefine masculinity, let us first start by saying, what are we redefining? When you read or either write a policy or a contract, you first have to have a preamble and then you have to have definitions. You define, this is, by this we mean this, by this we mean this. If we are saying we are redefining masculinity, which masculinity are we redefining? And that's a question we need to ask ourselves. If we're saying men are toxic, what is the definition of toxic that we can all agree to? And then we can say, let's move from there to then a good definition of masculinity. And let me give this example. Anyone here knows love, right? Love is love. But you get into a relationship, somebody hurts you, and then what do? I hate love, I hate relationships, I hate joy. And then you say all sorts of things. But is love in and of itself the thing that hurt you?
No.
Is love toxic? Right? It's not. And we can all agree. So how is it that when we look at men, when we look at masculinity, we then say masculinity in and of itself is toxic? If we agree that love is not the thing that hurt us, but it is the person who we were in a relationship with, a person who was hurt, who's going through trauma, who is bleeding and is bleeding on others. It's the same thing as we see with the feminist movement. It's been infiltrated by women who are broken, who are hurt, women who are vengeful. And they go out there and they attack anything that looks, sounds, and smells like a man. Anything that represents a man. They even go to the extent of writing anything that has an M-A-N, they want to change that. If it's history, it's her story. If it's woman, it's W-M-O, it's W-M what? W-O-M-X-N. And you can see it has nothing to do with feminism, but it has everything to do with hatred and brokenness. But there's a pure and unadulterated version of feminism that says, how do we empower women? And that is where you also see men participate, his for hers, right? And so when we're saying let's redefine masculinity, let's go back and say, which version of masculinity are we redefining?
Wow, that's very eye-opening, and I think it's a great place to start. So I'm going to leave you with one thought before I leave. How do we define masculinity?
Yeah.
All right, but I'm not going to stay for your answer, so please don't take it as an offense. I really do have to go. But thank you very much for your time. It's been lovely here. I enjoyed that last panel was incredible, but I don't want to take away from you guys. So am I getting another moderator on?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm quite interested in the answer to that question. The question is, well, how do we define masculinity?
For me, I think I love what my brother here says about redefining. Everything always comes down to how you first received it before generalizing. Because one of the issues that we have is someone else taking the fall for another person, or issues that was never his. Because someone get hurt, if I have to take your context, and then because of your experience in love, you now paint love based on your experience. I believe that we can only redefine when we first of all go down to the roots. For example, most ladies here, I love what the captain in the first panel talked about men needing coaching. I agree with you 100%. But more again, every one of us do need that. Ladies, you don't have to answer, but if you're not married or if you are, when a man comes to mind, like you're going into a relationship, you call a man, what first prompts into your mind? Most people see men for the financial capital that he could be, or financial security he could be, a provider. He supplies. He's the only one whose role is to do that. 100% I agree with you. But how about you also see yourself as also part of that financial capital? Because this is where the redefining starts from. When a man is not able to provide, does that reduces him from being a man? But you and I, again, you don't have to answer me. Some of you have dumped men, stop relationship, because you feel, this one, can take care of my bills. Why should it be his role? Why must it be his duty? Because this is where we need to begin from. Because again, you are raising someone to where he, for example, I've seen men who lost job, and all of a sudden the regard and respect starts dropping. Why must it be so? So let's redefine this. Yes, I agree. Men are enablers. Men are builders. Men transfer not just financial capital, they also transfer their social capital in enabling women. When we talk about social capital, you're talking about his influence. We're talking about his cover. He may not have the money, but just his presence in your life or in a family can get that child sit up when they hear daddy is coming. My wife can tell me right here before I was coming, Eden misbehaved and daddy is coming. That alone is a security. How about we start looking at it from that angle? And the change we want is going to start from all of us sitting in this room, not just them, men. It's all of us. All of us needs to change how we perceive women. As men, we need to change that they can't sit in the same. There's some culture from where I'm from that women cannot sit together in conversation like this. There are these, I don't know, it's Epo in my place. He doesn't have English name. It's Epo, I know it for. There are those traditional things we do that women are not allowed to show up when we do those stuff. Listen, this is where we need to start shifting those conversations or those narratives. We are equal, we are co-enablers, we are collaborators for general good. And it doesn't have to be one person's role. So when we are all educated, when we are all aware of that we could be supporters of each other, now you could see we will have a much more better. No one now feels threatened. Because the man that becomes aggressive, in one of my sessions, I don't share my clients' info, you will never know, but I tell the story. Told me when the husband couldn't provide, her regard for him dropped down. Not because it was intentional, but she felt so awkward that they go into the grocery store and she's the one who always swipes the card and the guy just stands there. And every time they now have disagreement, because he talks down on this guy, he wants to now rely on the only thing he knows, the muscle. That's the only one he can now put forward as maybe to stop you. But again, we need to shift from our thinking. It's not a one person's role. We are all builders, okay? We are all builders. We are all enablers of one another. We are co-creator of the future we want for our children and the world for all of us. When we see it from that role and the guy or one of us falls short in one way or the other, we can now bear one another knowing that, okay, if you're not good here, I am there to support you. Thank you.
I'm gonna be extremely controversial. Most men's first sexual experience is rape by an older woman. Most men's first sexual experience is being raped by an older woman. So most men have their first sexual encounter with an aunt an elder aunt, the maid at home, mom's friend, the teacher at school, or they are someone like that, or an older cousin. The only difference between the men and girls, that's the same experience between men and women, is that we see it as rape when it happens to a young girl. So when a young girl, when your gardener or your helper, an older man who helps in your garden sleeps with your girl, you will get him arrested at the same time and the girl will respect him because it's associated with pain, and therefore the girl automatically knows there's something wrong that has happened. So with boys, with us men, so when an older aunt, an older woman calls me and says, come here, and she makes me, says, take your thing, put it in here, I feel this tingly feeling, this hot, nice sensation, and there's no pain associated with it, so I think it's something good. And then you go and boast about it, exactly. You then go and boast about it with your mates who would say, meaning shaya lo mama lawyer, you know? Saying shaya la, and then your friend said, I won't be you know, now you are seen as the man. Masculinity. What defines a man? The man the one who gets the girl, the one who gets the car, the one who's got more money, the one who's able to provide, indoor damast. So where do these definitions come from? They don't come from men. They do not come from men. Let me tell you, my eldest son. So I spoke about I had become my own father. That the mistakes that my father made, I made. At the age of 19, I had my first son. That boy today is doing 25 years plus 4 in prison for murder. Just those of you who've got their phones, those of you who are not recording, just Google Nick Nzama's son, the story is there. So my son, him and his friends decided, before that, so because I didn't raise him, he was living with his mom. This weekend he's here, that weekend he's there, that weekend he's there. So then his mom is busy with other relationships. I'm already married, so I'm focused on my marriage. His mom is focused on that. So he's in between. He finds this teacher at school who gives him so much attention. He's 14, she's 63. So she gives him so much attention that on weekends, he's not with his mom, he's not with me. And his mom thinks he's with me, I think he's with his mom, and he's at the teacher's house. on holidays, and then we discover that, oh no, she asked for him to come and visit. We think, oh no, my boy is such a good boy, the teachers love him. Right, so he's going to Sunday, goes and visits this teacher. He spends so much time with her. He's visiting her on weekends and holidays and what have you. At the age of about 16, she starts giving him a car. I'm like, I want to get now. This is not on. So I stop that. So we start fighting with this teacher, and now you can't be giving him cars. I've got cars. I don't give him cars because he doesn't have a license and blah 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 blah. The story carries on. She eventually gets fired from school at the age of 17. I get a call. I was here in Sandton on a business trip that my son is wanted. I'm like, for what? And then my daughter tells me, Baba, just go and look on Facebook. When I open Facebook, my face is plastered all over the place. They're looking for my son because him and his friends have kidnapped this teacher. He's disappeared. Now it's a Tuesday when I'm getting this call. She's disappeared since Friday the previous week. No one knows where she is. So, cut the long story short, him and his friends have discovered that this woman. Now remember, this thing started when he was 14. Now he's 17. Right. Then him and his friends had discovered that this teacher was not sleeping with just him. She was sleeping with him and 5 of his other friends. And one of the boys had gone to test and discovered he's HIV positive, and then therefore the boys discovered, oh, okay. Then they decided to confront her. They went to confront her. My son was driving the car. This woman is sitting in the front. The other boys are sitting in the back seat. The boys get angry when she's giving them the answers and what have you. One of the boys pulled out his shoelace, strangled her. She was big. She was a very, very big woman. So I think she had BP and whatever. I mean, my mother now is 66. So this woman was 67 in 2017 when he was arrested, when she was murdered. So you do the number. She was even older than my mother. She was doing this. So, and then they killed her, went and dumped her in the bushes, and then ran away. They couldn't be found since now. They killed her on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. My son was eventually caught. They were caught, and then he confessed to the murder. Then eventually they were sentenced in 2019. So what I'm telling you about older women and children. So now this is the question. I've got a daughter who is 26. She's doing LLB. I've got another daughter who's 23 now. She's doing a psychology at Stellenbosch. Would I have let my baby girl go and visit a male teacher during school holidays or during weekends or at any given time? Would I have even allowed that? Why do we have double standards in how we raise boys versus how we raise girls? Because we say boys can take care of themselves from the age they're young. Hey, now, man, why you what kind of a man are you gonna be? Masculinity. Who defines it? So we need to look at those. I have a bad example of that. And I always say, because remember now, I told you I started Boys to Men when I was in 2011. So this whole thing happened whilst I was running Boys to Men. You know, it's say God challenges you in the areas that He wants to give you a testimony on what to actually tell people. So I'm telling you now, the way you raise your boys, that is where we need to go and start. How we raise our boys. Gone are the days, in the olden days, we used to have this thing in our African culture where a granny, make an example, a granny would come and say to a young boy, say, hey, also those days no longer exist. Where you've got grannies that you can trust to come and play with your boys totolozi and say, oh no. When your friends start playing with your son's penis and say, yo, hey, watch those friends. Watch those friends. You will not allow a male friend to come and play with your girl, with your daughter's vagina and say, oh no, your daughter, I'll get it. You will not allow that. Why do we allow it as women? Why do you allow it amongst yourselves? Because it happens. There was a video circulating in South Africa about 2-3 years ago of a mother who had a boy, a young boy, I think he was 9. She had him on top of her, and she had been instructed by a traditional healer to sleep with a virgin child. She took her own boy. The video circulated. She was a cop. She was a cop. It circulated around the country. And we don't talk about these things because these things are not politically correct to actually accuse women of such. Because it's easier to talk about men raping and talk about women being raped. It's not easy to talk about these things. And I don't speak to be politically correct. Yes. We spoke about disturbance and disruptors. Yes. If we want to change and stop things, because now think about this. This boy child who's been introduced to sex by telling him, Uguti, your thing is just to put there and feel the heat, and that's it. Is this boy ever going to respect sex? No. Is he ever? Why do you think most men think sex is just about putting it in there and then that's it? Why do you think that is? That is how they're introduced to sex. And at the same token, you're taking your girl child, you're grooming her. Watch your body. Watch out for boys. Boys are dogs. They'll get you pregnant in. Yet the boy is taken this side and he's being taught Tata Faga. Oh.
I'm almost at the point where I'm going to say drop mic. Right? Okay, on the part of controversiality, of controversy, whatever it may be, mothers also groom and raise their daughters to be sexual objects. Look at how they dress them. Look at how they put the makeup at an age where they don't understand what makeup is. And then as a man, if I were to put that out on social media or say that, I will be cancelled. Guess who? By women. Look at the pictures that most women take on social media. I've often asked, okay, why do they have to like turn? Right? Because I'll tell you this. Men love sex. Sex is beautiful. Sex was created by God for reproduction and for enjoyment. And a man is wired to have sex with a woman. Women know just how powerful their bodies are. If a woman wants to get a man to shut up, she can just simply flash him. Because she knows this thing is, there's a certain power here, but then there's even more power here. If she wants to destroy him, she can just give him a cookie and not bath and then go and open a case of rape. She's destroyed it. Because today, we listen to the woman first. And then now we have this innocent man in jail, and he's now bitter, he's angry, doesn't want to see women. He hates women. Here's how his approach to women is going to be. Oh, and by the way, whenever our criminal justice system apprehends a suspect, that person is searched for, is arrested, but there's a missing part where there needs to be an understanding of why the person did what they did. And they are counseled, right? Even though they serve their time. But we need to understand what made them do what they did. Let's look at their raising. How were they raised at home? We can be empathetic to the cold-hearted criminal. They are a victim of their circumstances, but they still need to serve their time. Consequences, we can change it. In redefine, because I don't, as like the previous panel, I don't want us to keep having a talk show and not get anywhere. So in redefining masculinity, I always go back to the original intent and purpose. And that's the Bible, where God created man and woman. Firstly, whether you like it or not, as a woman, you came after the man. That's what the Bible tells us. Unless you want to believe in the evolution of man, where we came from monkeys and monkeys still exist, and those have not yet evolved into humans. I don't know how that works, but it doesn't make sense. God created the man, and out of the man came the woman. But here's what you have to pay attention to. He didn't create the woman from the leg or from the back. He created the woman from the side. We don't know whether it was the left or the right, but it was from the side. And what then he said, I want this woman to be a helper, not the helper at home that you think subservient of, that you think lonely of, right? This helper is a helpmeet for him. He's been given an assignment. So you as the woman have been equipped with godly traits and characteristics that complement him. He's been given an assignment and an identity. And if you are going to criticize who he is, you are criticizing a part of who you are. So we need to first understand why were we created as men and women. God's original design was for men and women to coexist as partners, right? And then there's this thing that happens where Eve is deceived. It was not by choice. She was deceived.
Eve, not Steve.
Thank you. And when Eve was deceived, and this is where you also draw the power in the identity and the purpose of a woman. She brings what is good to the man. Whether her perception of good has been corrupted or not, but what she believes is good, she'll bring it to him. Because Eve believed what she held in her hand was good for him to also eat. He trusted her. And that's the nature of men. We trust women. As a woman, you can come and tell me something, I'll trust you. Because God created you that way. Let me run. You mentioned things that, men do and women are not allowed to be there. Right? That's culture. Some things we don't have to attach toxicity to them. It's simply things that we prefer to do by ourselves in your absence. It's okay. Allow us that space. Just like we allow you to have your high teas. Enjoy them. There are fundamental things that we look for. I read this and I want to close with this. In our most fundamental construct, as a man, I look at a woman and think, how can she feed my children and is she productive? As a woman, when you look at a man, you look at how he can provide and protect. That is our most fundamental construct. And then we build it up from there. So when we redefine, let us redefine on that basis.
Thank you very much. I think what the key takeaway here is that we're not redefining, we're restoring. The second thing I would like to say is thank you, sir. In my language, we say inimba yasik ivile. As a woman who's had the privilege of growing up with men and around men, I've been aware of the story. But one thing that has always confused me is it's either not spoken about or when it is spoken about, it is done so in jest and the men laugh. And I don't understand why they laugh at their own pain. And perhaps that's a function of emotional competence as well, which is something, as you say, we need to lean into each other. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to ask you to grab these gentlemen over lunch because we have to keep it moving because we are significantly behind. I'm going to be one of the ladies that grabs you over lunch. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. So you can.
Our lunch is going to be just 30 minutes.
Yes.
If you could, I could please ask you to just keep to the